Nobody wants to be caught doing nothing. In fact, think about the last time someone asked, "Hey, what are you up to?" And you said, "Nothing, just chilling." Did you feel a little guilty? Like you should have made up something more productive just to save face? We live in a culture that treats boredom like a disease. But what if I told you, being bored might be the very thing you need to heal? What if boredom isn't the enemy, but a portal? So grab yourself a cup of tea, because in this video we're going to explore something most people never even consider. That boredom is not laziness or procrastination. It's actually a deeply spiritual experience. And avoiding it might be exactly why you feel disconnected, burnt out, and maybe even a little lost. At the end of this video, you're going to see boredom completely differently. You'll understand what Carl Jung really meant when he warned us about being too busy. And you'll never feel ashamed of doing nothing again. We've all been trained since childhood to feel bad for being bored. Remember being a kid and saying, "I'm bored"? What happened next? You were told to go outside, do your homework, help with chores, maybe even scolded. Well, if you're bored, go clean your room. And so, without realizing it, we started associating boredom with being wrong, unworthy, lazy, and shameful. It's no wonder that as adults, we fill every quiet moment with noise. Check your phone, scroll, watch something, text someone, open a new tab, just anything to not feel that stillness. Because the moment we're still, something strange starts to happen. It's not that we hate doing nothing, it's that when we're not doing, we start feeling. And that is terrifying. According to Carl Jung, our conscious mind works overtime to suppress what he called the shadow, all the parts of us we've denied, rejected, or buried. Our sadness, our regrets, our unresolved questions about purpose, love, mortality. And when we stop filling our lives with busyness, the shadow knocks. That's why sitting in silence feels restless. That's why we reach for our phones without thinking. That's why the idea of staring at a wall feels unbearable. Because what we're really afraid of is facing ourselves. Let's clear something up. Boredom is not the same as procrastination. Procrastination is an active avoidance of something specific. Boredom is a doorway to everything beneath the surface. But our culture treats them the same. We label both as wasted time. As if every second isn't filled with something, it must be valueless. This is a dangerous misunderstanding, because when you start avoiding boredom, you start avoiding yourself. And eventually, you lose your connection to anything real. So now, we're going to flip the entire idea of boredom on its head and show you how it's actually a path to spiritual awakening. Think about it like this. When you're bored, what's really happening? The mind runs out of distractions. The usual background noise, tasks, TV, endless to-dos, falls away. And what's left? Space. It feels uncomfortable at first because we're not used to it. But that space is where the deeper truths start to rise. It's the same space where monks meditate, where visionaries get ideas, where children dream. Carl Jung once suggested that the things we avoid most are the very things that hold our wholeness, and boredom is the gateway. Because in boredom, you meet the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. This is why so many breakthroughs in art, science, and philosophy have come during periods of doing nothing. Einstein was daydreaming, staring out the window, when the seed of relativity clicked in his mind. Newton sat under a tree, idle, when the idea of gravity struck. Modern psychology shows the same thing. The brain has a default mode network that switches on when we're not focused on tasks. It's the brain's dream engine. It stitches together fragments of memory, intuition, and imagination, giving rise to new insights. So the very state we fear, nothingness, is the same state that unlocks originality, clarity, and problem-solving. No wonder busy people rarely stumble upon deep revelations. They're too occupied to allow them in. But here's where Jung adds another layer. The shadow, the hidden parts of ourselves, lives in that empty space too. When you allow boredom, old emotions surface. Grief you never processed, anger you never expressed, dreams you abandoned years ago. This can feel overwhelming, like a flood of feelings you didn't ask for. But Jung would say, this is not a breakdown, this is integration, because only by seeing the shadow can you bring it into consciousness, and consciousness is awakening. In this way, boredom becomes a kind of spiritual teacher. It invites you to confront your inner world instead of numbing it away. It teaches you presence, awareness, and ultimately, acceptance of yourself. And here's a twist most people never expect. It's not boredom that causes depression. It's the avoidance of boredom. When we constantly drown ourselves in noise and endless activity, we disconnect from our emotions. We push them so far down that eventually numbness sets in. That numbness is what we label depression. It's the cost of never letting ourselves pause. Ironically, the very thing we think protects us from despair, staying busy, is often what leads us into it. Whereas allowing boredom, sitting with that discomfort, actually keeps us mentally healthier. Because the mind, like the body, needs recovery time. Stillness is not wasted, it's medicine. Now let's explore how boredom is not just about creativity or healing, but about meaning. Because here's the thing. Boredom doesn't just leave you alone with your emotions. It leaves you alone with your existence. That silence, that restless nothingness, pushes a deeper kind of question into awareness. What am I actually doing with my life? Why does any of this matter? Most people don't want to sit with those questions because they don't come with quick answers. They demand reflection, honesty, and courage. Carl Jung believed boredom often stirs up this search for meaning. He saw it as an entry point into what he called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your whole, authentic self. And individuation doesn't come from filling your calendar or chasing distractions. It comes from facing those boring moments when the mask slips and the real questions rise. But why do these questions feel so heavy? Because they threaten the illusions we build around ourselves. Think about it. We create routines, careers, identities, all to feel safe, to feel like we have control. But boredom strips that away. When you're bored, you can't hide behind your titles or your to-do list. You're left with the raw you, and that can feel scary. But this is exactly the confrontation that leads to growth. Because until you've faced the emptiness, you don't know what truly fills you. But here's the paradox. Our society punishes us for pausing. From school onwards, we're rewarded for busyness, productivity, and achievement. Keep working. Don't waste time. Stay focused, they say. No wonder boredom feels like guilt. We've been trained to distrust the very state that reconnects us to meaning. And yet, those who allow boredom, who stop hustling long enough to reflect, often find something profound. Their values become clearer. Their choices feel more intentional. Their lives start aligning with something deeper than survival. So if boredom can lead us to creativity, healing, and meaning, what happens if we don't resist it, but actively embrace it? The first step is simple, but radical. Stop running. When that restless wave of boredom creeps in, resist the urge to immediately fill it with scrolling, music, or another task. Instead, let it linger. This doesn't mean staring at the ceiling for hours. It means allowing space for nothing without rushing to escape. It could be 5 minutes sitting on the couch, phone in another room, a walk with no podcast, even waiting in line without pulling out your screen. These micro moments are where your mind finally exhales, and in that space, the deeper voice of your inner world can start to speak. So, how do you bring this into daily life? Number 1. Digital fasts. Pick short windows of time where you do nothing with your phone. It could be the first hour of your day or while eating lunch. Let your mind wander instead. Number 2, mindful waiting. Turn waiting into practice. At the bus stop, in a checkout line, or in traffic, don't rush to fill the silence. Just notice your thoughts. Number 3, unstructured time. Give yourself at least one block of unscheduled time each week. No agenda, no to-do list. See what surfaces. Number 4, journaling your boredom. When boredom hits, write down what thoughts or feelings come up. Over time, you'll start seeing patterns, and these patterns are clues to what your shadow is holding. Number 5, nature time. Walk outside with no headphones, no agenda. Let your senses, sight, sound, smell, anchor you in the present. These aren't just wellness tips, they're invitations to meet yourself more fully. So here's the truth. Boredom isn't weakness. Doing nothing isn't laziness. And you have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of when you say, "I'm doing nothing." You don't owe anyone an explanation for your stillness. Not your friends, not your partner, not even your family. Because doing nothing is not empty. It's powerful. It's the space where your mind resets, your soul breathes, and your creativity finds room to stretch. We've been taught to see busyness as a badge of honor, but real strength is found in choosing rest when the world demands hustle. So the next time someone asks, "What are you doing?" and you answer, "Nothing," say it with pride and confidence. Because in that nothing, you are reconnecting with yourself and reclaiming your freedom. If this message resonated with you, take a moment right now and anchor it into your life. Write an affirmation in the comments, something like, "I allow myself to do nothing without guilt," or create your own. Let it be your declaration that you no longer owe the world an explanation for your stillness. And if you want to keep expanding your awareness, questioning reality, and exploring psychology, spirituality, and higher consciousness, make sure to subscribe to Fractal Wisdom, because here we celebrate the freedom of simply being.